Hi everybody, it's the Soap Man. I have another weekly batch of soap to make for you. I'm going to do a red, white, and green drop swirl. Now the drop swirl is a pretty simple procedure. If you've done even a few batches of soap, you've probably done a drop swirl. That's where you take your mold and you pour a layer. And you pour another color and you pour another color, how many colors you have, but each one you pour at a high level so that those colors break through and it gives a really neat swirl. Okay, pretty simple, pretty basic. But what I'm doing is the drop swirl, but I'm doing the cold process, oven process soap. Now, some of you may know what that means. I've done this one time and it turned out great. I did it almost a year ago for Christmas and it turned out great. What that is, go ahead and make your basic cold process soap, but then you're going to put that cold process soap in an oven at 170 degrees, leave it on at 170 degrees for 1 hour, and then turn it off and leave it in that warm oven overnight, and it forces that soap to go into a very hot gel phase, and that makes your soap readily available to use. If you made hot process soap, you know hot process has benefits over cold process. If you made cold process, you know cold process has benefits over hot process. This combines the best of both worlds. I'm going to try that. Now, one thing I have to do, even though this is a silicone mold, you know, silicone molds are great for cold process and hot process. They're not great for cold process, oven process, because the soap gets really hot and it'll sort of start to bubble on the inside and it'll leave pit marks on the inside. So what I've actually done, even though this is a silicone mold, I have actually lined it with parchment paper because this will allow the soap to breathe and hopefully prevent those bubbles. The last time I did this, I lined it and it worked out great. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get I'm soaping at 110. I was hoping they'd be 120, but that's all right. I think it'll still work at 110. Go ahead and get these lightly emulsified, divided among 3 containers. The colors are already in those containers. Do the drop swirl, put a top on it, and put it in the oven for 170 degrees for 1 hour and turn it off and leave it overnight. So here we go. If you've watched me before, you know my lye water is cloudy because I have Testa Silk in it to give it a nice silky texture. So here we go. And I'll post the recipe in the description box below so you can write it down if you want to. Make a little bit of noise here. Okay, I'm barely emulsified. I'll divide them into 3 sections. I'll give them a little bit more of a thick blend at that point and do the pour. This is really a very forgiving procedure. It's even good for beginners because it's really simple. I'm going to get this basically into 3. It doesn't have to be exact. Uh-oh. Goofed already. My red is going to be lacking. And there isn't a whole heck of a lot I can do. So what can I do? I'm just going to go on. I thought I knew these molds and this amount of soap pretty well. Apparently I don't. Do the best I can. I'm going to go ahead and whisk these together, lightest to darkest. I'll start with the white. We'll go to the green. And I'm going to go to the red. Now I'm also going to stick blend just a little bit. I don't want a thick trace, I just want a medium, so I'm going to be careful with this. I just want to get these a little bit blended better so they're more blended together better. That's all I'm going to do. Green. And the red. I might pour just a little bit of this white into the red since I messed up measuring. Just a little bit. Even those out some and lighten that red up some. Alright, here we go. And I'm going to pour in this holder. I'm going to pour red, white, and green. My mold is lined. I'm going to pour down the center as best as I can. Forward and back. Take the white, do the same. Make sure it breaks through. I hold it high enough that it breaks through. And the green, do the same. Hold it high enough that it breaks through. Red, the same thing. White. Hold so it breaks through. Green, holding it high. And as I get deeper, I'm going to hold it even higher. Red. White. And green. I'm going to tap this mold down, get some air bubbles out. Yep, I can see them coming out of this. I'm going to take my spatula and pour my colors on top. And make a nice top on this. So we'll start with my red. And I'm holding this close because I want it just on top. Do the same with my white. Hold it close to the surface. And do the same with my green. Take my skewer, which in this case is my thermometer, and do the pattern on the top, just barely breaking through the top. I'd like a little more red on that, but you know what? I don't want to mess it up. That's alright. I'm going to pull that down the center. Go down the edges to clean it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to plop this in a 170-degree oven for an hour. Turn it off and let it sit overnight. And I have enough soap here left over. Go ahead and put it into a muffin mold, and this can be one that I'll test on myself. This one won't look very pretty, but this will still be a good bar of soap, and I can test it on myself to make sure it's safe to use, which I always do. This will be my soap that I'll use on myself. And that's all I have. I'll probably see you in the morning. This will be ready to cut tomorrow morning. It will probably be ready to use. I'll give it a test and see how it works and see how we're going. So anyway, folks, I'll see you in the morning. Thanks. Bye.